Hey guys, real quickly before we dive into the show, I did a Bleacher Report hit today right after the trade deadline ended. So we talked about Howie Roseman staying quiet and some other things with this team. I hope you guys enjoy it. I appreciate you all. You know I love you to death, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween. It is NFL trade deadline day, and the Philadelphia Eagles stayed quiet. I am very surprised. Now, when I say stayed quiet, I'm referencing just today, the window right now, when everyone's scrolling on Twitter to see if 4 p.m. rolls around and their team made a splash. There wasn't much for Howie Roseman, and that goes against Howie Roseman's thoughts for sure. But I can't forget that they brought in Byard just a week ago, and that's a damn good safety to add to this secondary that was desperate for some bodies. So now Sean Desai still has something to work with. All around, it's not as if the league had a billion splashes. Washington let a couple of their defensive linemen go. So Chase Young goes to the 49ers, which is an impressive addition for them. They don't really have a quarterback. I don't really believe in Brock Purdy, so that's their biggest issue. That's their biggest knock. Apparently, they were the best team to ever live on planet Earth in football history. Now, all of a sudden, they lose 3 in a row, and everyone's hitting the panic button while your Birds are 7-1. Even though a gauntlet is ready to hit the schedule, I expect this team to do a magnificent job throughout these tough games against good opponents because, well, damn it, Jalen Hurts is special and this offensive line is special. And I'm okay that Howie stayed where he was because I know for a fact that he put everything into getting better. And if he stayed quiet, there's a reason why he stayed quiet. What I anticipated today was maybe going after Johnson from the Chicago Bears to help out your secondary, but he stayed in Chicago. Nobody leapfrogged over you and ran over you and grabbed him instead. He stayed in Chicago. So there wasn't really much movement. Rasul Douglas to the Buffalo Bills. Sweat from Washington goes to, where did Sweat end up going to? Sweat went to, the Chicago Bears, which we don't know what they're doing. Peoples-Jones to the Lions. Leonard Williams yesterday to the Seattle Seahawks. Cowboys did nothing to improve their team. I'm sure their fan base is loving it. Man, their Twitter is hysterical. And I asked a question for all of you live listening in the chat right now. As you go to the poll question, are you satisfied with Byard as the only addition? Right now, we have the votes leaning towards no, and I don't understand that. I don't understand why you would be disappointed. Sam says here in the chat, still hoping to add a corner or a linebacker, looking at free agency. If I didn't trust Howie Roseman, it would be different. Howie Roseman has been picking up the phone for the last 24 hours straight for the last 3 days. So that would be more than 24 hours. I'm just saying 24/7. But I'd say over the last, okay, fine, 24/7. Screw it. 24/7. 24/7. 24/7, Howie Roseman studies how to improve this team, make them better. Last year, he thought he had a Super Bowl, and you could tell how hurt he was and how much pain he was in when they had the end of the year press conference. He was sitting there, Nick Sirianni and the ownership, Jeffrey Lurie, he was crushed in a billion pieces because he really thought he was getting a second Lombardi trophy to put next to the other one. And then he saw, well, we ended up losing that game. Everything in his power to make this team better, Howie Roseman will do. So if he did stay pat today, there's a reason why. Asking prices were too much. There wasn't anything that was really, truly worth it outside of a few names. Looking at certain positions, there was nothing there that popped. I have full faith that Howie would pounce if it made sense for the Eagles and Howie to pounce. If you have a front office that runs their team into the ground and is stupid, look at the Chicago Bears. What the hell are the Chicago Bears? They give up all that compensation. They go after Khalil Mack, all that nonsense, right? And then here they are giving up compensation for Sweat. And then where is he at contractually? They don't make any sense whatsoever. This franchise is ran so well and so smoothly, and they're so intelligent that I have full faith that if something is quieter than I anticipated, it's not really because the Eagles are unwilling. It's not because they don't want to put their foot on the gas. The market didn't really wow anybody to death. And, it is what it is. So people are saying they really need a linebacker. Yeah, they have weaknesses still. I'm not telling you that their roster is perfect, but if you're living in La La Land, that's where you think that there were a billion linebackers to go pluck from. If they didn't get one, there's a reason why they didn't get one. Another team is asking for too much. Someone isn't even that good and worthy of putting a package together to go grab one because it's not much of a significant upgrade to do so. They are weak in certain roster spots. But you can't just be silly and stupid and irrational and have knee-jerk reactions with certain moves if you're the general manager of a football team and say, well, because we're weak here, I'm doing anything just to go get one, or I'm willing to go out of my comfort zone to put together a couple pieces and ruin some draft picks down the road. Howie's got this thing all covered. I'm okay. I'm okay. And I am stunned. I am in disbelief with how close this poll is. Right now, 56% of you viewing are satisfied with Byard as the addition, and 44% are currently not, which I need more information from the ones out there that are saying no. We're not discussing Brian Johnson. I don't think anybody is getting rid of Brian Johnson right now. Oh, I see. Someone said, I wish we could have traded Brian Johnson at the trade deadline. We're not doing that. Come on now. We got to be smarter than this. Nakobe Dean, Cunningham, they will be fine. Morrow, remember, this is basically Nakobe Dean's rookie year. There will be some growing pains, but he will be good. He's very intelligent. That's from Jay Don, who has a Georgia Bulldog logo in his name. So I think I know exactly where he stands emotionally tied to Nakobe Dean. Their linebacking core isn't the most impressive unit in the world, but that's a whole nother discussion. When you're Howie and you're putting together this roster and you put X amount of dollars into the quarterback, X amount of dollars into A.J. Brown, who's one of the most intense wide receivers this league has right now. He's in the conversation with Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, and A.J. Brown. He's that ridiculous. And Byard is damn good too, by the way. This is why it doesn't make sense to me if you're upset. If you didn't get Byard a week ago, and let's say you made 0 moves a week ago, and you got Byard today, you'd be happy? You'd be happy because the day the deadline ends, you added, but you got the same exact guy. So what are we talking about here? That is labeled as a deadline acquisition, even if it doesn't happen on Halloween night when the clock hits 4 o'clock. You still did your job. You still got something added. Now, Sam mentions that last year you attacked your defensive line, went out and got some guys that were waiting around until a team called that was making a playoff push. A shoe, for example. I don't think Howie's done looking by any means. He's always aware. He's always willing to search. He's sniffing every day to see who he could bring in here to improve the roster. And that's why if he doesn't do anything, that there's a reason why he didn't do anything. And I'm not just going to be mad at him just to be mad at him. If anybody deserves some wiggle room and a long leash, it's Howie Roseman. This team's 7-1. They just lost the Super Bowl, and now they're going back, okay? They're going back, and they start this season with an extremely, insanely talented push, a 7-1 start. The trade deadline, he brings in one of the top safeties in football. When you look at what he did in Tennessee for a period of time, I'm going to relax and hold out any sort of frustration because today wasn't as sexy as maybe some would be. Larry tweets in or texts in or chats in, however you want to label it, and he also does not understand not being satisfied considering where the team's record is and they added an all-pro safety. What is there to be concerned about? There are details of this team that I would like cleaned up turning the football over has been a lot lately, but that's just more about playing smarter football and Jalen Hurts not throwing certain interceptions and not fumbling the football. Kenneth Gainwell in the red zone. So I want red zone cleaned up. I want turnovers cleaned up. There's areas that they have to smooth out. But in regards to roster construction, they have Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on your defensive front, which are insane. Darius Slay is still a magnificent corner. Bradbury struggling in certain outings, which is disappointing. And yeah, there's an issue with some of the secondary for sure. But if your front wins and your front gets home, then it doesn't matter as much. And they are built within both sides of the trenches to destroy and annihilate their opponent. That's what makes them so special. That's what makes them so scary. And more times than not, they do. They do. Rope 9088. We were interested in Jalen Johnson. After seeing that notification, I was really getting my hopes up to get him. After the deadline, though, I'm honestly fine with how our team looks. If Johnson got traded to a different team and we saw the package and the package was something that was beatable and something we thought we had internally to do better than, fine. Now, if Johnson went to a different team and the package was so massive, someone overpaid, and you can't be so dumb and so naive to say, well, whatever it takes, then that's a different story. But because he stayed in Chicago, there were some reports about what they were asking for, and it was such a high package that it would make no sense for anyone to do it. Well, then I can't blame Howie Roseman for not irrationally picking up the phone and doing something stupid. I'm proud now that the poll is starting to lean in the direction that it should. All right, we're now sitting at 71% satisfied, 29% not satisfied. So maybe the non-satisfied or unsatisfied people were starting to vote early, and it's evening out the way that it should. And I'm glad. I'm very glad. Leonard Williams and the Giants gave up. The Washington Commanders gave up. It's a dogfight between us and the Cowboys, and here they are running their damn mouths all week long. Jerry Jones, Dak Prescott. Micah Parsons actually thinks that he's going to rally the Cowboys fans in South Jersey and have them outweigh and outmuscle Eagles fans to go to the game on Sunday. Oh my God. This guy, dude. This guy is outrageous. Oh, man. That is one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard in my damn life, Micah Parsons. In what world? In what world? But that's where this division currently stands. Because when the Giants lose to the Jets in that horrific game, if you even want to call that a football game, they have to give up and they have to start selling. So Leonard Williams leaves. He goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I guess Joshua Harris was so busy trying to get rid of James Harden, owner of the Sixers and owner of the Washington Commanders. If you're unfamiliar, he forgot to pay attention to his football team today because they were all out to lunch. Chase Young leaves, Sweat leaves. And look, Chase Young is a nice addition for the 49ers. It helps out one of their strength. You think about their defensive line. You think about Bosa. You think about what they have. Yeah, that's an extremely talented set of weapons on the defensive front. Yeah, here's Lane Johnson, though. You ever hear of him? Here's Jordan Mailata. You ever hear of him? Here's Jason Kelsey. You ever hear of him? You know, Landon Dickerson, and I hope Cam Jurgens could get on the football field shortly here again. This is different. This offensive line is different. You win in the trenches. This team's trenches, A+. And the 49ers aren't bums. I just think Jalen Hurts significantly, I want to say that again, significantly better than Brock Purdy. So go get what you want. We have the quarterback. You don't have the quarterback. We have the quarterback. Frankie says, in Howie, we trust. Fly, Eagles, fly. It's crazy how the narrative has changed around Howie Roseman. It was tough for me. I won't lie. I had some difficult nights where I'd be sweating in my bed because everyone was crushing Howie. And I said, pump the brakes. When you respect the greatness that one Howie Roseman provides, and you look around the league and you look at all the other GMs, do you know how many times I had to deal with? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic and facetious, sweating in bed thinking about Howie Roseman's greatness. But there was a time where I felt like I was on an island protecting this guy. Oh, Mickey Loomis is by far better than him. And Ballard is so much better than him. I'm like, you guys are nuts. You guys are nuts. Now, Howie Roseman is pantsing everybody. You're going to get things wrong as a GM. But when you get things wrong, how do you make up for it? There's some things I don't necessarily love that Howie does. For example, they don't draft first-round corners. At some point, I would draft a first-round corner. It's not like he's the most perfect guy in the world. You screw up certain things. The Carson Wentz thing backfired, but you get a Jalen Hurts. You miss out on Justin Jefferson. You go get an A.J. Brown. If you do something terrible, you have someone who's so creative in so many different ways to help out and fix something that was terrible. And he's done that and knocked it out of the park in a lot of situations. We are spoiled with linemen. All right, we go from Jason Peters, not the Jason Peters now. When Jason Peters was in his prime, think of the left tackles, think of the line play, think of what's here now that's about to slide in after this after the old core retires, and maybe it's time for Kelsey and Lane Johnson to eventually move on, whatever it is. Think about what we have in the works to replace that level of star talent already. So down the road, you don't have to keep picking all these linemen, even though they probably will because they just do it. And then they manufacture all this greatness from Jeff Stoutland University. So they'll probably never stop. But they are such in great positions, which is crazy considering you're on the back nine of some of these top echelon linemen in this league. Crazy, man. Crazy, man. 100% agree with your understanding of Howie. He used to piss me off, though, but he got it right recently from Henry. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but you're going to make mistakes. This game is all about mistakes. Quarterbacks make mistakes. It is what it is. Pete Carroll's a fantastic coach, is he not? Pete Carroll's still doing it to this day. He made the decision to throw the football and not give it to Marshawn Lynch. That would strip Tom Brady from another Super Bowl victory. He's so lethal of a head coach. He's amazing. He made a bad decision. That stuff happens. But you can't throw away the entire body of work. And Howie Roseman's entire body of work is so sensational right now. And he's not satisfied. That's what makes this fantastic. He's got one. He wants another one. I'm telling you, he was the most hurt person in Philadelphia the day that they lost that Super Bowl. For as sad as you thought you felt, for as sad as maybe Jalen Hurts and everybody in that locker room knowing that they missed a golden opportunity, their hunger is like no other right now, and it stems from what the message is up top. Like, they're aware that Howie is on the prowl every second of his life. Howie's probably with his family, maybe some nieces, some nephews, some kids, whatever. They're dressed up in tiger outfits, ready to go trick-or-treating. Howie's like, hold on, hon, no, you can go to that door. I got to make a phone call. Boop, 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 boop. Yo, Tennessee, it's Howie. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? He's always calling. Then here's Tennessee going, oh, I can't pick this up. If I pick this up, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get canned. Lord mentions our secondary, saying it is trash right now, and we need more help. Okay, Reed Blankenship in the secondary with Byard, I think, can be good enough. Reed Blankenship had some tough moments, but in the secondary, if it's I see, when I say good enough, if your defensive line is overwhelming, Slay and Bradbury, I trust for the most part, even though Bradbury had some tough moments against McLaurin. I do think that they are respected corners out there. Can some combination of Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship, and Byard be good enough where they're not, quote, trash? Like, is that trash? Because there's a difference between trash and on the weaker side or average or a tick below average, but still very serviceable. I think they've had tough moments, especially last week. We're coming off of a week where they weren't very good. But the week before, they shut down a Miami Dolphins team that nobody could figure out. No one. And that offense was high-flying and soaring and putting up yards and crazy amount of points. And this same defense held them to basically nothing. They were non-existent. They dominated the football game. So what we can't do is lose sight of reality just because we're coming off of a game where a quarterback has a lot of yards that shouldn't have a lot of yards. Yes, it was very Jonathan Gannon-like where a quarterback is going 10 for 10 to start things off, and they have this ridiculous amount of completions early on, and they never miss a pass until the 11th pass of the game. It shouldn't be that way, but don't forget that this same defense had to go through the Miami Dolphins and did an excellent job. And you're right, Big Dog, who throws out Eli Ricks, too. I haven't even really mentioned Eli Ricks. It's not perfect. But my point is, when it's quoted as trash, is it really trash? Is it a little banged up and still have to figure it out? You're still plugging and playing pieces and trying to learn some things. Sean Desai is very quick in regards to changing things up. Nickel corner, it's one guy. The next play, it's somebody else. The next play, it's somebody else. He's constantly throwing different things out there and trying to create all sorts of havoc here. Are they still doing that, or is that it? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's how he does it. It's not about learning who you can put in there and then say, hey, we're living and dying with you out there no matter what. Maybe this is how he goes. We're still learning the Sean Desai experience, right? He's new here with this personnel under the Nick Sirianni tree. So there's a lot to figure out. It's a weaker point of the roster. Trash and weaker point of the roster on a 7-1 Super Bowl contender, best team in the league, is two different things in my eyes. But that's how I see it. And I'm glad that the poll is ending where it's ending as we get ready to wrap things up. 80% satisfied, 20% not. Good. Good. You guys are very smart. Very smart. All right, everybody. You know Byard's going to continue to improve, too, playing with the team. He had 1 week. He got thrown into the fire. Everything will be all right. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween, everybody. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me here on Bleacher Report, and we will be talking pretty soon here in November, because we do have a lot of dates set up to continue these streams. So I love you guys. I appreciate you all, and we'll be talking very soon.